All right, so we are going to paint some stencils onto some fabric. So what you guys are going to need are a couple rubber bands, some tape, your stencil, a paintbrush. I like to use just a piece of cardboard that's cut square that will fit, the cape will fit around, and then some clips. So the first step is to actually take the cape, and you want to just lay one side of the cape down onto the cardboard where you want the stencil. You're going to line it up. I'm using a t-shirt. So you're going to line it up where you want that stencil with the cardboard. We just want to do, again, one layer at a time. And you want it nice and flat so there's no wrinkles. And once you get it in place, you are going to secure it with the clips. And then I like to use the rubber bands to wrap the excess around here. So I'll do that and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I have mine all secured, and I have the clips on the edges and the rubber band at the top so that I know where the top is. And now I'm going to take my stencil and I cut it out very carefully. So what I want to do first is just put a piece of tape where I cut it. I'm going to do it on the back. And I'm doing this outside, so it's a little windy. It's too nice not to be outside. So I just want to put a piece of tape there. And then what I like to do is, see, because I have on my stencil, I've got some loose shapes. So if you're doing a star, you are going to want to make some tape donuts, and on the tips of the stars or other shapes, put some tape donuts, because we want that stencil to stay down and to stay in place. So go ahead and do that. All right, so I got my tape donuts around here, and so I'm going to flip it over and line it up in the middle, and then just secure it down and push gently down. And then I am ready to paint. So what I'm going to use this wonderful fluorescent pink, and I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of paint out on this piece of paper and take my paintbrush. Now when you paint it, you just want enough paint on one edge of the paintbrush. Don't need it really on the other side. And I like to start from the outside edge. Now in this case, because I have a shape here and here, I'm going to start here and pull down. And as I work, I want to make sure I'm holding the stencil down. So you want to find those areas that are going to be trickier, and just pull the paintbrush gently along the fabric and the edge of the stencil. So now here, again, I'm just going to hold the stencil down and pull the paintbrush along the edge. And you can see the paint is covering up pretty well on this t-shirt. And I'll get more paint, and I'm just going to keep working this way, holding the stencil and working from the outside of the stencil, pulling in towards my shirt. That way I'll get a nice, crisp, even line along the edge of the stencil. I can fill in the middle after I do, so to speak, the outlining. So I'm just smoothing my paint, holding my stencil down with my fingers, and painting. All right, that's my dog barking. So once you get the outline done, then you can just come in and fill in the middle with the rest of the color. And this is, I always find that the shirt or the fabric sometimes will start to bunch and move around, but it's okay, because the important part is getting those edges nice and crisp along the stencil. So now if the fabric moves a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. You can even just kind of push the paintbrush to fill in the rest of that color. Now, it probably will take a few hours for the paint to dry, depending on where you put it to dry. It won't take as long if you put it in the sun. So now that I have that all painted, I will very carefully take the stencil off. I like to just gently lift it one side at a time. Make sure your fingers are actually clean, that they don't have wet paint on them, because you don't want to get fingerprints on the cape. So then I just carefully lift that stencil off. And you can usually get 2 to 5 done with one stencil, and voila, there you go. See, the edges are nice and crisp. So make sure what you're doing is you're putting your paintbrush down on the stencil and pulling towards the inside, holding the stencil down. All right, good luck, and thank you guys for doing this.